So, a nice warning for you. What could happen in crypto in the next few months? My take. Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new, subscribe, bell button, leave a like. And if you are genuinely new and you've never seen my content before, I am objective and I'm realistic, so get used to it, right? I have a glass here for people's tears if things go wrong over the next few months. Happily drink those when you've watched this video again in the future and it's probably played out, because I think this is a very likely scenario. Now, let's talk about a few things. I'm long-term bullish in the market. I always have been. That's why I'm here. But the charts are not looking great at the moment. I do think we will get a relief bounce, and I will explain that in a minute. But ultimately, things are looking pretty rough right now, right? And I do think it's due to this chart on here. So we're going to start off with the first one, the dollar index. I've been talking about this chart for like 2-3 years now. They've been on my courses for a while. If you are interested in learning and educational content, check out Learning Crypto. It's my company, CPD accredited courses. It'll reveal a bit more about this. Now, other things to talk about. When this goes down, crypto goes up. You've probably noticed. From 2020, wing, crypto mooned. Now this is starting to go up. We're starting to get a bit of a tail off, right? Essentially, with a lot of altcoins, money running out of potentially other markets, and you've seen that with other markets too, such as the Dow Jones, such as the S&P, Nasdaq, etc., right? Money is flowing into the dollar. It's getting strength, which is not good for us, right? So that's the first point. We look at the Nasdaq. We've melted quite significantly for the first time in a long time. We're actually below moving average of the 21, even though I don't really use, that one for the stock market. It's still a telling sign that we are kind of turning a little bit. It's a correction, right? The S&P, similar sort of story, yeah, and obviously the dollar's going up, and obviously Dow Jones is. Now, let's talk about crypto more, right? Because I think a lot of people are a bit confused and lost. My honest opinion, I think the bear market is very, very close. And I'm going to explain a potential thing that could be happening with us very, very soon. And it could be the end of the market cycle, potentially. And I've been talking about this from, last year, saying May, June time might be the end. Possibly, could be. Pretty realistic, I think. But hey, I'm happy to be wrong in this situation, because I do think we're going to struggle to get over the all-time high from this point. Now, I have mentioned before in previous videos, and I mentioned on my prediction video, I think the maximum Bitcoin could go is probably $84,000 to $90,000. You can see that video if you go back to my 2022 predictions. And that's a genuine possibility. However, I think it is also somewhat becoming more and more unlikely if things do not kind of carry on. Now, it's a very, very wishy-washy bull trend, you could probably argue. It's getting very, very close to not being a bull trend, and the trend line is probably pretty much broken, essentially. So, too many people are clinging on to certain things that are not really, in my opinion, probable. Really. See, some people are like, oh, look at me, look, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, and we're going to go, fucking yes! People are like that, and it does my tits in. So do not follow people that are blindly giving you hope, because you will get wrecked, and that is a problem. Now, I always mention this. I did a section of this in my newest advanced update course. I talked about influencers. I say bulls will get you wrecked, and they usually do, right? Because a lot of the bulls have been telling you to buy every single dip since basically $60,000. Buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, right? Go down to the 3-day time frame. There's nothing for you to buy here. There never has been, and there still isn't even today. There's nothing for us to buy, and I think we will probably go lower. That could create a bit of a divergence maybe, and we may well see a bottoming effect around 30k levels, right? Give or take. However, right, let's talk about a few things. This is what I think is going to happen, right? This is, again, not financial advice, and this is my personal opinion. If we're going to put on here head and shoulders as a pattern, right? And let's look at the basics of this, right? This is kind of what I think is going to come about. And I think we're going to form an absolute beauty head and shoulders. Can I get a decent? There we go. So I think we're getting to a point where BTC has done this at 64k. We pulled back. Quite an aggressive pullback, obviously. We went up to 69k. We pulled back. And I think we are going to form another shoulder, and then we're going to continue more to the downside. Obviously, not very well prepared in terms of my analysis, but that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. When we look at that, when you start to look at it in more detail, when you start putting some little lines in and around certain places, we may well see something like this, and that could be that, right? Personally, that's what I think is going to happen. So this is why the warning is here. Do I think we're going to correct up? Yes. Why? Because we are literally on a mega monster dumpage, and what goes up tends to come down, what goes down tends to go back up again, right? It's kind of like a bouncing ball. Now, will we go lower and retest potentially a neckline? Yes, I think we could see a bit lower before we start going up. I don't think this is a confirmed bottom yet. There's only one wick there, and we've not really had much momentum, right? That's kind of clear and obvious. You can kind of see that if you zoom in. You can see it's not very clear. Now, again, we might have a similar situation like this where it will gradually just halt to a certain point, but then I think we will correct up, right? So it's not all doom and gloom. Now, this is where you need to listen. If we do correct back up and we go towards maybe the 382, maybe the 55. Now, by the way, these numbers may not be 100% because the bottom might not be in yet. So just take with a pinch of salt that the levels may change a little bit. But at the moment, that is a genuine bottom because that's the lowest we've been. Now, if we do correct up, and I've got some levels here of influence and interest, that could be of importance, but we do need to start going up, and I think we will, hopefully, fingers crossed, go up to these points. Now, if that does happen, I'll be looking to sell quite a decent chunk of my crypto into stables because I think that could be the end of the cycle. If that does come around March and April time where we do trickle back up, it could be interesting because the whole markets are looking a bit crap. If you could put into consideration the interest rates are going to change in March with the dollar, that could mean certain things that could happen to influence the dollar to be more stronger. That could be a problem, right? Well, we're then looking at other things as well, such as obviously the S&P. The correction could continue going, right? We're looking at a parabolic kind of move here where it still could go a lot lower. That could obviously affect us. So we've got to look at all these kind of economic elements. And then you've got the element of deflation. Deflation is the opposite to inflation for obvious reasons, where we've had some massive spikes. It will gradually settle down, and that could create problems in the market, and it could lead to some panic and some over leveraged positions as well due to riding that sort of wave, which could be of interest. Now, I want to talk a bit about profit taking as well in this video because, as I say, if we do, bear with me, let me get this looking neat and tidy. If we do see a run up to these kind of levels, in a way, it should take something off the table, right? And we're kind of blessed in a way that if the market is going to give us some profit, which is good to see, we've got to be careful with what we do with it. And one thing I will say is check out BlockFi, right? I talk about this every Friday, but a lot of people are getting wrecked by going into high leverage or high APY kind of systems, which are not very safe, right? As much as you like it or not, realistically, trying to get like an 855 million gazillion APY is basically a Ponzi scheme, where with this, you get a steady rate on a stable currency and you don't have to worry about the value appreciation of the asset you're underlying staking. There's a lot of Ponzi schemes out there that are telling you to do this because you're going to get more, but realistically they fold and die. We've seen that with Time recently. We've seen that with a few others as well over the last few weeks. BlockFi, in my opinion, is one of the safest out there. They're borrowing and leverage, and ultimately their institutional investment for their credit card is massive because people want the money. People want to use something like that, and you can see that here already. There's a lot of people utilizing this, and they've also released a wallet as well, which is pretty cool, right? So 9% on your stables, yeah, put it to work, right? So if you are putting your money to work and ultimately you're waiting for something to happen, it may be because the market cycle could be about to, go backwards. Now, when we talk about this, let's talk about blow-offs, right? A lot of people are going to be commenting going, what, haven't had a blow-off? Well, it doesn't mean we're going to have a blow-off. We may have already had it, which is kind of what my point is in this video too. Look at the 3-day chart, right? BTC looking, I think, neat and tidy, looking pretty good. But shall we look at some altcoins, right? Because let's look at a few. Now, look at Cardano, for example. We've had quite a significant run, right? Avalanche, another one. And loads of these coins have had monstrous runs, right? We've had monstrous alty sort of seasons where they've all gone absolutely berserk, right? Let's be honest here. Now, we're talking here about monstrous gains that are life-changing, and they've created some monster wealth. Now, again, if you're looking at the total market cap as well, looking at the weekly time frame, this is a monster of a run. Like, this was a previous bull run, and this is this one, right? What's to say that this isn't the pullback and this isn't the final blow off? The next level could be we are just going to continue the trend into a potential lower high, and then that might be us going much lower from that point. That is what I believe is pretty likely to happen versus us carry on going up. Personally, I would rather it be this than us carry on going to stupid levels and people getting absolutely annihilated, and meaning the pain's going to be worse in the long run. Because what goes up, as I say, always goes down. A lot of altcoins right now are going down to historic low levels, and it's making people cry, right? So maybe we might have already done the correction. We may have already done the correction. We may be going back up again, and we may well be forming that final move where we are going to see some more profit taking, more distribution of profits, and then it could be the slow melt into a winter season. Now, we could be seeing this level here, a perfect sort of level, head and shoulders, potentially we could be arguing. But I don't see much bullish kind of nature around altcoins if the sentiment is gone. If people are getting annoyed with influencers, if people are getting annoyed with people doing rug pulls and just crap fucking advice, basically, people are not going to invest. And people will then start looking and thinking, well, actually, when we zoom out a little bit, we've gone freaking berserk, right? When we think from the all-time low to the all-time high of this, we've gained $2.93 trillion in an entire market. That's a lot of money. And I remember investing in these days, and it was the greatest times ever. I want those back again. I want those days back. Don't get me wrong. I like it being high, but sometimes it's nice to be right back down here again because it's interesting, right? But I want to finish on one final thing. And this is a big thing that I want you to listen to. Sometimes altcoins will go exactly where they started, right? And that's going to piss people off, I know it. It could take years, it could take months, I've mentioned this before. Now, you can look at a lot of coins. You can look at Luna as a good example here. We started going parabolic from a break out of $21, right? It wouldn't shock me in the slightest if we went back down there. It really wouldn't, and it never will. You know, stuff like this in crypto, it never shocks me because there's a level there, right? There's an actual genuine level around that point. We could go down there. And I know people are going to be fuming at that. But I also said the same thing about Bitcoin, didn't I? I said, what would happen or what would you do if BTC went, I said, would you believe me if BTC would go to 11K? Now, let me explain this mentality, right? You've got to play what you see, right? Play what you see. If we keep going down and down and down, cool, right? You know, as long as you are taking profit and you're looking to redistribute your profits at the low points, that's fine. But don't kid yourself. Don't pretend you know what you're doing, and don't wish for something that isn't there and play on it, because you will lose. Now, when we talk about this, and this is where it gets interesting, and I know people are going to cry, and I don't mind people crying, it's fine. But we've got to be realistic here. We are playing with probability. Probability is monstrously important. Now, let's look at past data, right? The previous all-time high to the all-time low, essentially, right? Bitcoin retraced roughly 84%, give or take, right? Rough numbers. Now, when I talk about we could be going down to 11K, well, the reason why I brought that number out is because of this. If you're looking at this level there, look at that. It's actually around 10K, give or take. But this is the level where we actually kicked off and we went on this parabolic spell where we went boom, pop. But is it likely to happen? Well, I wouldn't say it's unlikely. It's likely, but it's unlikely, if that makes sense. So it could happen like anything. You can go outside tomorrow, you can trip over a curb. The next day you might not. It's one of those, right? So you got to look at the facts that maybe over time we may well readdress. Now, I know people are going to be going, well, Bitcoin's never been below an all-time high before. But a lot of altcoins have. Nearly every single altcoin has at certain points in the bear market. So there may be time yet that could happen. Now, the biggest thing that I will say as a warning sign to everyone is from this all-time high of last time to this level, there is a fucking massive gap. Massive. Look at it. It's huge. If we lose 30K there's a massive chance that we could go back down to the all-time high of 20k, give or take, right? If we lose 20k, there's a chance that we could lose easily back down into that, that 15, 14, 13k, then maybe into 11. That is a monstrous bearish situation, I know, but it's also a warning sign to tell you that it is possible to happen. Now, yes, I like to troll people. Yes, I like to take the piss sometimes, but realistically, I'm just saying what I see. And if I see certain gaps like that, it's better off covering them, letting you know, and understand that you understand that it is physically there and it's possible. Too many people are going, well, it's never going to happen. We're never going to go below 40k. Yeah, that worked out well. We're never going to go below 50k. Yeah, that worked out well too. Oh, we're never going to go below 60k. Well, that fucking really worked. You've got to be looking at these sort of situations. So the past is there to remind us that we have had big corrections in every single bear market. If we go into a bear market, there's a chance that we probably will hit that 80% level again very, very easily. And I know people are going to go, well, what about adoption? I think we're too early. Too early. I think the adoption isn't here yet. We need regulations to allow adoption. And even still, in the last bear market, there was a lot of adoption. A lot of people utilizing cryptocurrencies. It just wasn't really hyped up about it. So, interesting. The dollar index is going up, usually means we're going down, right? The dominance chart of BTC is low. There's a chance that will probably go up higher. And there will be opportunities. But for me, what I think will probably most happen first is we will probably have a correction up, right? Need to be patient with this one. It may well be a very, very ugly looking head and shoulders, but it could possibly happen. And we could see us going lower. Now, when you look at this chart alone on my final bit of this video, this is a weekly time frame. If this is a bottom and we do pull back up and then we hit this level, it's a genuine level on the Fibonacci. It's a genuine level because it's in confluence with structure. It's a genuine level in some ways because it matches the history of the past of the correction to the nose. Bit scary that, isn't it? So, if we pop up, don't be afraid to take something off the table. I'm not saying sell your entire bags here. I'm just saying take a little bit off the table. Nothing wrong with taking 25% out and just going, well, let's just see what happens. Put it into BlockFi, put it into the yield platforms and earn a bit of passive income as things develop. But you do not want to be going back to this video in a year's time and finding out that Bitcoin's like 20k or 15k and wishing you did certain things when we were much higher, because you'll kick yourself. Realistically though, play what you see. Easiest way of doing it. Anyways, enjoy.